Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you're here because today we're starting a journey into the colorful, lively, and sometimes puzzling world of English idioms. If you've ever heard phrases like, kick the bucket, let the cat out of the bag, or hit the nail on the head, and wondered what on earth they mean, this story is for you. Don't worry, by the time we finish, you'll not only understand these idioms but also know how to use them naturally in your conversations. Idioms are fascinating. They are expressions that cannot always be understood by translating the words individually. The literal meaning is often very different from the real meaning. For example, if someone says, "It's raining cats and dogs," they don't mean animals are falling from the sky, they mean it's raining very heavily. Idioms give language color, personality, and a sense of culture. They make English feel alive, funny, and expressive. Our story follows the adventures of a young woman named Olivia. Olivia is curious, enthusiastic, and always eager to learn. She works in a busy city office, loves meeting new people, and has recently realized that understanding idioms is the key to feeling confident when speaking English. Her journey will take us through everyday life, unexpected situations, and amusing experiences, all while teaching you idioms and context, so you'll remember them effortlessly. Olivia's first discovery about idioms is that they appear everywhere, in newspapers, in movies, in casual conversations, and even in advertisements. At first, they confuse her. She might read, "John spilled the beans about the surprise party," and think, "Why is he talking about beans?" But as Olivia navigates her life, she learns that idioms often carry emotions, cultural hints, and humor that simple vocabulary cannot express. In this story, we will see Olivia learning idioms in real-life situations. She will meet friends, encounter challenges at work, enjoy weekends with family, and experience moments of joy, frustration, and triumph. Each scenario will introduce a set of idioms, some common, some quirky, and explain them in a way that is easy to understand and remember. By following Olivia, you'll learn not just the meaning of idioms, but also the right way to use them naturally. You'll notice something important. Learning idioms isn't just about memorizing. It's about context, about seeing how native speakers use expressions in real conversations. It's about feeling the tone, the humor, and sometimes the drama that comes with a phrase. And most importantly, it's about enjoying the process, because idioms are fun, lively, and often surprising. Olivia's journey begins one Monday morning. She is walking to work, sipping her coffee, and reading a newspaper. The headline catches her eye. "City officials bite the bullet on budget cuts." Olivia pauses. Bite the bullet? She thinks. She knows the words individually, but together, it's a mystery. This small moment marks the start of her adventure, a journey that will teach her dozens of idioms, one step at a time. Throughout this story, you'll also discover tips for remembering idioms. Olivia learns to make connections between the idiom and a mental image, a story, or a personal experience. This technique makes learning idioms easier, more memorable, and more enjoyable. You'll learn not just to understand idioms, but to think in them, which is the key to fluency. In the chapters that follow, Olivia will encounter idioms about everyday life, at the office, in friendships, during family gatherings, in travel, and even when trying new hobbies. You'll see her react to idioms in funny, relatable ways, make mistakes, learn from them, and eventually use idioms naturally in her speech. By the end of this 10-part story, you'll be able to understand and use these expressions effortlessly, giving your English a new sparkle and fluency. So, are you ready to join Olivia on her idiom adventure? Fasten your seatbelt and get ready to laugh, think, and learn. Idioms can seem tricky at first, but with Olivia as your guide, they will become your friends. You'll discover that English is not just a language, it's a world full of colorful expressions, hidden meanings, and delightful surprises. Our journey begins with Olivia's first encounter, biting the bullet, learning how to deal with challenges bravely, and realizing that every idiom has a story behind it. Along the way, she will collect phrases, practice them, and show you how to make idioms a natural part of your own speech. Remember, idioms are not just vocabulary, they are a way to connect with people, understand culture, and make your language expressive and alive. With Olivia, you'll see how idioms fit into real-life situations and how you can use them with confidence. Welcome to Olivia's world of idioms, a world where words leap off the page, paint pictures, and bring stories to life. The adventure is about to begin, and the first idioms will soon make their entrance. So, take a deep breath, relax, and prepare to dive into English in a fun, engaging, and unforgettable way. Olivia doesn't know it yet, but by the end of this journey, idioms like bite the bullet, spill the beans, hit the sack, and break the ice will feel completely natural to her, and to you as well. Get ready, the idiom adventure starts now. It was a bright Tuesday morning when Olivia arrived at the office, feeling the usual mix of excitement and nerves. She had spent the night thinking about the headline from yesterday's newspaper. City officials bite the bullet on budget cuts. She still wasn't sure what bite the bullet meant, but she was determined to figure it out today. As she walked past the coffee machine, her colleague Mark greeted her with a cheerful smile. "Morning, Olivia! Did you hear the big news? Management had to bite the bullet and approve the budget cuts," he said casually. Olivia paused. Bite the bullet, again? She had a vague idea it meant facing something difficult, but she wanted to be sure. What exactly does that mean?" she asked. Mark chuckled. "It's simple. It means you have to face a difficult or unpleasant situation bravely. Imagine a soldier in old times having to bite a bullet during surgery. It was tough, but necessary. So management made a hard decision." Olivia nodded slowly, letting the meaning sink in. "So it's about courage when things aren't easy." She repeated the phrase quietly under her breath. Bite the bullet, bite the bullet. She realized that understanding idioms wasn't just about memorizing words. It was about visualizing the situation, imagining the story behind it. Later that day, Olivia went to lunch with her friend Lily. As they sat down at their favorite cafe, Olivia noticed a man at the next table accidentally spill his drink. Lily whispered, "Well, that's someone who really spilled the beans." Olivia laughed. "Spilled the beans? Isn't that about secrets?" "Exactly," Lily replied. "When you spill the beans, you reveal a secret, often by accident." She smiled mischievously. "Like if someone accidentally tells everyone about a surprise party before it happens, they've spilled the beans." Olivia imagined the scene, a birthday party, balloons, a cake, and someone blurting out, "Surprise! You're turning 30 today." She laughed at the mental picture. She could see that visualizing idioms in context made them stick. Words were no longer abstract. They were lively, almost cinematic moments she could recall. The afternoon brought another idiom moment. During a meeting, the manager said, "Let's not beat around the bush. We need to decide which project to prioritize." Olivia frowned. She had heard this one before but wasn't confident. "Ah," Mark whispered from the next seat, noticing her puzzled expression. "To beat around the bush means to avoid talking about the main topic. Instead of getting to the point, someone talks in circles. Just like the phrase suggests, you're walking around the bush without facing the center." Olivia smiled as she imagined someone tiptoeing around a bush, hesitating to reach the center. "Got it," she whispered. "Get to the point. No beating around the bush." By the end of the day, Olivia realized she had learned several idioms without even trying to memorize them. Bite the bullet, spill the beans, beat around the bush. All of them were connected to real experiences she had witnessed or imagined. She wrote them down in her notebook, adding little sketches and scenarios to help her remember. That evening, Olivia practiced using the idioms in sentences. "Tomorrow, I might have to bite the bullet and finish that big report," she said aloud to herself. "I hope I don't spill the beans about the surprise for Lily. And I'll try not to beat around the bush in the meeting." She laughed at how much fun it was to speak English like this. Idioms, she realized, weren't just fancy phrases. They were ways to communicate naturally, to express humor, emotion, and meaning all at once. Over the next few days, Olivia began noticing idioms everywhere. In movies, she heard characters say, "Break the ice," at a party. At the cafe, she overheard someone comment, "Let's call it a day," after a long shift. Even on social media, captions and comments were full of colorful expressions. By observing, listening, and using the idioms herself, Olivia started internalizing them. She realized that context, repetition, and active use were the keys to mastering idioms. Writing them in her notebook, visualizing them, speaking them aloud, and imagining their stories made learning both natural and enjoyable. At the end of the week, Olivia reflected on her progress. She felt a sense of accomplishment. Idioms were no longer mysterious. They were tools she could use to make her speech more expressive and her understanding of English more profound. She was beginning to see that idioms weren't just phrases, they were little windows into culture, humor, and everyday life. That night, she added a note to her notebook. Idioms are alive. They make language colorful, funny, and real. Learn them in context, see them, say them, and imagine them, and they'll never leave you. Olivia smiled as she closed her notebook. She knew the journey had just begun. Tomorrow, she would encounter new idioms, face more challenges, and discover even more ways that English could be vibrant and exciting. She was ready for the adventure, and with each idiom, her confidence and fluency would grow. The first step had been taken. Idioms were no longer intimidating. They were friends, companions, and keys to speaking English naturally. Olivia was ready to continue her journey, one colorful expression at a time. Olivia's third week in her idiom adventure began with the excitement of new challenges. She realized that learning idioms wasn't just about understanding stories or newspapers. It was about noticing them in daily life, especially at work and in social situations. Monday morning at the office, Olivia entered the meeting room to discuss the upcoming project. Her manager, Mr. Adams, greeted everyone warmly and said, "All right, team, let's hit the ground running today." Olivia paused for a second. Hit the ground running. She had a vague idea it meant to start quickly, but she wanted to be sure. Mark, sitting next to her, whispered, "It means to start a project or task with energy and enthusiasm. Basically, don't waste any time." Olivia nodded, repeating it silently in her mind, "Hit the ground running, hit the ground running." The meeting continued, and Olivia noticed another idiom. Think outside the box. Mr. Adams encouraged the team to find creative solutions. We need fresh ideas. Don't just follow the usual path, think outside the box. Olivia wrote it in her notebook and imagined a literal box, trying to see beyond it. She smiled at the mental picture, realizing that visualizing idioms made them easier to remember. Later, during lunch break, Olivia met her friend Lily at the park. The sun was shining, birds were chirping, and the world felt bright and alive. Lily laughed and said, "Olivia, you really have to see this. Our neighbor's dog is barking up the wrong tree again." Olivia giggled, trying to make sense of it. "Barking up the wrong tree?" she asked. "It means trying to do something the wrong way or blaming the wrong person," Lily explained. "Imagine a dog barking at a tree where the squirrel isn't. That's exactly what it means." Olivia could picture it clearly, a dog, a tree, a squirrel in the next tree, and she felt the idiom firmly in her mind. She repeated it aloud several times, using it in playful sentences. "If I tried to finish this project without asking for help, I might be barking up the wrong tree." In the afternoon, Olivia decided to test herself further. She joined a small team discussion about a marketing campaign. Her colleague Sarah said, "We need to get our ducks in a row before presenting to the client." Olivia paused, thinking about it carefully. "Get our ducks in a row, organizing things properly?" she asked. "Exactly," Sarah smiled. "It's about making sure everything is ready and in order before taking action." Olivia loved the imagery. She imagined little ducks lined up neatly, each one representing a task to complete. She could already see herself using this idiom naturally in her own sentences. After work, Olivia and Lily went for a walk in the city. Along the way, they discussed movies, books, and small life events. "Don't worry, Olivia," Lily said, noticing her friend's slight nervousness about giving a presentation tomorrow. "You'll ace it." You just need to keep your chin up. Olivia repeated the phrase quietly to herself. Keep your chin up, stay positive, no matter what happens. She felt reassured. The idiom didn't just teach language, it carried emotion and encouragement, making her feel braver. The next day, Olivia faced her presentation with new confidence. She incorporated the idioms she had learned. We hit the ground running on this project, she began, and thought outside the box to find creative solutions. We made sure to get our ducks in a row, and I'm ready to answer any questions. Let's keep our chins up and make this successful. Her manager and colleagues smiled, impressed by her fluency. Olivia felt a sense of pride. Idioms were no longer confusing expressions. They were part of her vocabulary, her voice, and her confidence. Using them felt natural, like she had been speaking English this way all along. Later, Olivia and Lily celebrated with a cup of coffee. See? Idioms aren't scary, Lily said, laughing. They're just part of life, at work, at home, everywhere. Olivia nodded, thinking about the past few weeks. She had encountered idioms in newspapers, meetings, conversations, and even in casual observations around her neighborhood. Each one was a small story, a visual image, or a playful expression that made English more expressive and engaging. She realized another key lesson: idioms often carry culture and humor. Expressions like barking up the wrong tree or get your ducks in a row weren't just words. They were snapshots of life, culture, and common human experiences. Understanding idioms helped her feel more connected to English speakers, their humor, and their way of thinking. That night, Olivia added a note to her notebook. Idioms are everywhere: work, play, conversation, movies. Learn them by noticing, imagining, and practicing. Each idiom is a story waiting to be told. Olivia smiled. She knew her journey with idioms was still just beginning. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new situations, and, of course, new expressions to discover. But now, she felt ready. She was learning to see English not just as words, but as vibrant expressions full of life, humor, and meaning. Her first week of real-life idiom encounters had taught her an important truth. Idioms were not obstacles. They were keys to fluency. By noticing them, using them, and visualizing them, she was becoming more confident and expressive every day. And with that thought, Olivia closed her notebook, ready to face the world with idioms in her pocket, playful curiosity in her heart, and the joy of language guiding her every step. The next morning, Olivia woke up feeling cheerful. She realized that idioms weren't just for work or school. They were everywhere, woven into everyday life. From the moment she made her first cup of coffee to the walk to the bus stop, she was determined to notice every idiom she could find. While making breakfast, Olivia's younger brother, Ethan, rushed into the kitchen. Mom said breakfast is ready, but I'm starving. I could eat a horse, he exclaimed. Olivia laughed. Eat a horse? She repeated. It means you're really, really hungry, Ethan explained, grinning. Olivia smiled at the exaggeration, imagining her brother munching through a mountain of food. She wrote it in her notebook with a little sketch of a giant plate piled high. Eat a horse, be very hungry. Later, on her way to the bus stop, Olivia saw a neighbor struggling with grocery bags. She offered help, and the neighbor said, Thanks. You're a lifesaver. Olivia paused. A lifesaver? She thought. Yeah, the neighbor said, noticing her hesitation. It means someone who helps you in a really important way. Like you just saved me from carrying these heavy bags. Olivia noted it down, thinking about how idioms carried emotions and gratitude. Words weren't just literal. They had a special power to express feelings vividly. At the bus stop, she overheard two friends talking. I can't believe Tom forgot his wallet again. He's really skating on thin ice. Olivia frowned, unsure of the meaning. Her neighbor smiled. It means Tom is in a risky situation. He could get into trouble if he keeps forgetting his wallet. Olivia imagined a person standing on a slippery patch of ice, trying not to fall. Skating on thin ice, risky, dangerous, and urgent. She repeated it aloud several times. The image helped her remember it instantly. Arriving at the park after work, Olivia met Lily. They sat on a bench under a large oak tree, watching people jog and children play. Lily said, "I heard Sarah got cold feet before her presentation yesterday." Olivia raised her eyebrows. "Cold feet? It means she got nervous or scared at the last moment," Lily explained. "Imagine her feet literally freezing because of fear. That's the picture the idiom gives." Olivia chuckled and wrote it in her notebook, drawing little frozen shoes next to the words. She loved creating mental pictures. It made idioms unforgettable. As they walked through the market, Olivia noticed another idiom in a conversation between two shopkeepers. "That's a tough nut to crack," one said about a complicated order. Olivia asked Lily, "Does that mean it's hard to deal with?" "Exactly," Lily replied. "Something difficult or complicated. Imagine a nut that is really hard to open, that's the idea." By now, Olivia realized the pattern. Idioms often drew from everyday objects, actions, or situations, and they painted vivid pictures. That's why they were memorable, funny, and sometimes puzzling. But once understood, they gave English a lively personality. That evening, Olivia joined her family for dinner. Her father said, "I heard you've been learning idioms. Well, don't put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to your project tomorrow." Olivia smiled knowingly. "Don't put all your eggs in one basket, meaning don't risk everything on one plan," she said. Her father nodded. "Exactly. Good to see you're using them already." Over the next few days, Olivia continued noticing idioms in casual situations. Break the ice. Her friend suggested an activity to help new students feel comfortable at school. Hit the sack. Her brother said he was tired and ready for bed. Piece of cake. Her coworker described a task that was easy to complete. Every idiom was connected to a real experience, making learning natural and fun. Olivia started speaking them without hesitation, enjoying the playful rhythm and expressive power they added to her English. She also started creating little stories with idioms in her notebook. For example, she wrote about a day at the market where she broke the ice with a friendly vendor, hit the sack after a long walk, and felt that completing her errands was a piece of cake. Writing idioms in context made them even more memorable. By the end of the week, Olivia realized that idioms had become part of her daily life. She could spot them everywhere, in conversations, on signs, in advertisements, and even in movies. More importantly, she could use them naturally, in the right situations, and with the right emotion. She added a note to her notebook. "Idioms are everywhere, not just in books or lessons. Notice them, imagine them, and use them. They make English colorful and alive." Olivia smiled as she closed her notebook. Her adventure in everyday idioms had taught her an important lesson. The more you see, hear, and use idioms in daily life, the more natural they become. They aren't just expressions, they are windows into culture, humor, and everyday experiences. And as Olivia walked home that evening, she felt a growing excitement. Tomorrow would bring new idioms, new stories, and new ways to make English more playful, expressive, and unforgettable. She was ready to continue her journey, one idiom at a time. Olivia's idiom adventure was entering a new phase, one where she would face challenges, unexpected situations, and moments that tested her understanding of English expressions. She realized that idioms weren't just for fun. They were powerful tools to describe real-life experiences, frustrations, and surprises. It all began one rainy Wednesday morning. Olivia had overslept, and by the time she got dressed and ran to catch the bus, she was completely drenched. As she splashed through the puddles, her phone rang. It was Lily. "Olivia! You won't believe what happened! Our project meeting got postponed, but there's a twist. Your presentation is now first. You have to face the music," Lily exclaimed. Olivia froze. "Face the music?" she thought. What does that mean?" she asked nervously. "It means you have to deal with the consequences, good or bad, or face a situation that might be difficult," Lily explained. "Imagine someone playing music you can't escape from. You have to listen, accept, and respond." Olivia chuckled nervously. She realized that idioms like this often described emotions and situations in a vivid way. Facing the music wasn't just about punishment, it was about courage and accountability. Arriving at the office, Olivia prepared for her presentation. Her heart raced, but she reminded herself of another idiom she had learned: keep your chin up. She whispered it quietly, taking a deep breath. Keep your chin up, Olivia. You can do this. During the presentation, Olivia made a small mistake. She accidentally skipped a slide and stumbled over a sentence. Her manager smiled and said, "Don't worry, it happens. You're still on the ball." Olivia paused. On the ball? Mark leaned over and whispered, "It means you're alert, competent, and handling things well. Even with that mistake, you're doing fine." Olivia felt relieved. She realized that idioms often softened situations, made communication lighter, and added encouragement. Phrases like face the music or on the ball weren't just expressions, they were tools to navigate life's ups and downs. Later that afternoon, Olivia walked through the city and noticed a small commotion at a cafe. A barista had dropped a tray of cups, and everyone laughed. One customer said, "Well, that was a close call." Olivia smiled, remembering the idiom. A close call meant a situation where something almost went wrong but didn't. She could imagine the barista's shock, the cups almost breaking, and the sigh of relief from everyone around. She wrote it in her notebook, adding a quick sketch of flying cups narrowly missing the floor. As the week continued, Olivia encountered more idioms and challenging situations. In hot water, her coworker used it when explaining a mistake that could cause trouble. Bite off more than you can chew, she heard someone describe taking on too many tasks at once. Hit a snag, she saw this phrase in an email about a small problem with a client. Olivia discovered that idioms were not only about humor or culture, they were practical tools for expressing difficulty, surprise, and problem solving. They captured emotions and situations that ordinary words sometimes couldn't. At home, Olivia practiced using the idioms creatively. She wrote a short story in her notebook. "I bit off more than I could chew when I volunteered for 3 projects at once. I hit a snag when the first one had a problem, and I found myself in hot water. But I kept my chin up, faced the music, and finally got everything done. It was a close call, but I was still on the ball." Writing the story helped Olivia connect idioms to her personal experiences. She realized that the more she applied idioms to her own life, the easier it became to remember and use them naturally. The next day, Olivia's younger brother, Ethan, came running into her room with excitement. "Olivia! You've got to see this! Dad's old car finally broke down. It's really the last straw." Olivia laughed. "The last straw," she repeated. She remembered that it meant a small problem that finally causes a big reaction. She could picture her father's frustration, and the phrase felt alive. She added it to her notebook with a quick cartoon of a camel and a straw, the classic visual. Over the weekend, Olivia and Lily met for a walk in the park. They laughed and shared stories from their week, each trying to use new idioms they had learned. "I almost spilled the beans about my surprise party for Ethan," Lily said, "but I managed to keep it under wraps." Olivia grinned. She could see how idioms added charm, emotion, and storytelling to ordinary conversation. They made communication playful and memorable, turning everyday events into vivid stories. By the end of the week, Olivia realized that idioms had become more than words. They were part of her thinking, expression, and understanding of the world. She could now spot idioms in newspapers, conversations, movies, and advertisements, and she knew how to use them herself. She added a note to her notebook. "Idioms help us describe challenges, surprises, and emotions. They make language expressive, memorable, and alive. Notice them, imagine them, and use them. They will become part of your English naturally." Olivia smiled, feeling proud. She knew that the journey wasn't over, but she had grown more confident. With idioms in her pocket, she was ready to face life's little challenges, laugh at surprises, and communicate with color, creativity, and clarity. The weekend arrived, and Olivia felt a sense of excitement in the air. She was going on a short trip with her friend Lily to explore a nearby town. For Olivia, this was not just a chance to relax. It was another opportunity to encounter idioms in new and lively situations. Travel, she realized, brought language to life in unexpected ways. As they boarded the train, Lily handed Olivia her ticket and said, "Hope you're ready. This trip is going to be a piece of cake." Olivia paused. A piece of cake? She thought. She remembered hearing it before and smiled. "It means something easy," she said aloud. She imagined a delicious slice of cake that could be eaten effortlessly, and the idiom stuck in her mind. The train ride itself offered many idiomatic moments. Olivia noticed the announcement. "All passengers are requested to keep an eye on their belongings. Don't let things slip through the cracks." Olivia repeated it quietly. Slip through the cracks, something overlooked or forgotten. She imagined little objects sneaking between gaps in the floor and understood how idioms often created vivid, memorable images. Arriving at the town, they decided to explore a small market. A local vendor jokingly said, "You two are going to shop till you drop." Olivia laughed, picturing herself exhausted under a pile of shopping bags. Shop till you drop, buying so much that you feel completely tired. She wrote it in her notebook, adding a playful drawing of herself wobbling under the weight of colorful bags. Later, they walked along a narrow alley lined with boutiques and cafes. Lily suddenly stopped and said, "Look at that cafe. Let's take a rain check. It's crowded, and I don't want to wait." Olivia paused. Take a rain check. She remembered from a previous conversation that it meant to postpone something. She smiled, imagining a literal raindrop canceling their cafe visit. The mental picture made the idiom unforgettable. In the afternoon, they decided to try a small hiking trail. Olivia, carrying a map, said, "I hope we don't get lost." Lily grinned. "Don't worry. We'll find our way. Just follow the path and keep your eyes peeled." Olivia laughed. Keep your eyes peeled, stay alert, watch carefully. She pictured her eyes literally peeling open to see everything clearly. She jotted it down, noting how idioms often combined humor with practical meaning. Along the trail, they encountered a sudden rain shower. Lily laughed and said, "Well, it looks like we're in the same boat, soaked together." Olivia grinned. In the same boat, sharing the same situation or problem. She imagined two tiny boats floating together in a puddle and realized how idioms helped express shared experiences vividly. During their hike, they also used idioms to describe challenges. When they struggled to climb a steep hill, Lily said, "This is a tough road to hoe." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Tough road to hoe," she repeated. Lily explained, "It means a difficult task or challenge. Imagine hoeing a long, rough row in a field. Hard work." Olivia chuckled, imagining herself struggling in a muddy field. Writing it in her notebook, she realized that combining idioms with personal experiences made learning effortless. As they reached the top of the hill, the view was breathtaking. Olivia said, "It was worth the effort. The view really takes your breath away." Lily smiled. "Exactly. And look at that, a real cherry on top for our adventure." Olivia laughed again, jotting both idioms in her notebook. Takes your breath away, something stunning or amazing, and cherry on top, an additional pleasure or bonus. Travel, she realized, was full of moments that naturally fit idioms. The experience made the language feel alive and fun. That evening, as they rested in their hotel, Olivia reflected on the day. She had encountered idioms everywhere: markets, cafes, trails, and conversations. Each one was tied to a vivid image, an emotion, or a situation. She began noticing patterns. Idioms often relied on everyday objects, actions, or shared experiences. This made them memorable, practical, and delightful to use. Before falling asleep, Olivia added a note to her notebook. Travel teaches idioms naturally. Observing situations, imagining images, and connecting phrases to experiences makes them unforgettable. Idioms turn ordinary moments into stories and adventures. As Olivia drifted off to sleep, she felt grateful. Her journey with idioms wasn't just about memorization or reading, it was about living, observing, and using English in context. Every day offered opportunities to encounter new expressions, make mistakes, laugh, and grow. Tomorrow would bring another adventure. Olivia knew she would meet new people, face new surprises, and of course, discover more idioms that she could use in her daily life. The world of idioms was vast and colorful, and she was ready to explore it, one expression at a time. The following week, Olivia realized that idioms weren't just for work or travel. They were everywhere in social life, especially with friends. She discovered that playful conversations, games, and light-hearted moments were excellent opportunities to practice and remember idioms. One sunny afternoon, Olivia met Lily at a cozy cafe to catch up. As they sat down, Lily grinned and said, "Olivia, you really need to spill the beans about your secret project." Olivia laughed. Spill the beans, reveal a secret. She thought about the idiom from earlier and smiled. "All right," she said. "I've been working on a surprise event for our neighborhood. But you must promise not to spill the beans." Lily placed her pinky on her lips. "I promise. Your secret is safe with me." Olivia felt a sense of delight. Idioms weren't just words. They were playful tools that made conversations lively and engaging. Later, they went to the park to meet a few friends. While waiting, Ethan, Olivia's brother, shouted, "Come on, Olivia! Don't leave me in the lurch!" Olivia paused. Leave in the lurch. She remembered it meant leaving someone without help or support. She nodded, jogging over to him. "Don't worry, Ethan. I've got you." The friends decided to play a casual game of soccer. During the match, Mark, a childhood friend, said, "You're really pulling your weight, Olivia." "Great job." Olivia smiled. Pulling your weight, contributing fairly. She imagined herself holding a rope with others, pulling equally, and felt proud of participating fully in the game. After the match, they all gathered under a tree, catching their breath. Lily said, "Olivia, I've got to hand it to you. You always know how to break the ice with new people." Olivia laughed. Break the ice, initiate conversation or ease tension. She remembered feeling nervous when meeting new neighbors before, and now she realized how useful this idiom was. She could see herself using it naturally in future introductions. Later in the afternoon, as they walked through a street fair, Ethan accidentally tripped over a small step. Lily exclaimed, "Well, that was a close shave." Olivia grinned. A close shave, a near accident or narrowly avoiding trouble. She pictured Ethan balancing carefully and felt the humor in the idiom. She added it to her notebook with a little sketch of a clumsy stumble. While exploring a small art exhibit, Olivia noticed another idiom in a conversation between visitors. "I'm really over the moon about this painting," one exclaimed. Olivia whispered to Lily, "Over the moon, extremely happy or delighted." She imagined someone literally floating above the moon in joy, and laughed at the playful image. This was how idioms made English expressive, memorable, and fun. The friends decided to try a mini trivia game at the fair. Olivia noticed idioms everywhere in the questions and answers. Hit the nail on the head, describing a perfectly correct answer. Go the extra mile, recognizing someone who put in extra effort. Let the cat out of the bag, revealing a surprise unintentionally. Olivia realized that games and playful competition were excellent ways to practice idioms. Using them in context made them stick in her memory far better than any list of definitions ever could. In the evening, as they shared ice cream, Lily said, "Olivia, you really know how to take the bull by the horns and handle everything confidently." Olivia laughed. Take the bull by the horns, face a difficult situation boldly. She pictured herself standing tall, holding a bull by the horns, and felt empowered. Idioms weren't just expressions. They were metaphors that gave her courage, humor, and perspective. As they walked home, Olivia reflected on the day. She realized that friendship and fun provided the perfect environment for idioms to come alive. Laughter, games, surprises, and shared experiences created vivid memories that made learning easy and enjoyable. That night, she added a note to her notebook. Idioms thrive in social situations. Use them in conversation, games, or shared experiences. They make communication playful, memorable, and alive. Olivia felt a growing confidence. She could see how idioms could transform ordinary conversations into colorful, expressive, and memorable interactions. She was no longer just learning English, she was living it. Her journey continued, with idioms guiding her through challenges, adventures, friendships, and fun. Each day brought new expressions, new stories, and new ways to connect with people. Olivia knew that the more she practiced, the more natural idioms would become, until they were simply part of her everyday speech. And with that thought, Olivia smiled, knowing that friendship and play weren't just fun, they were keys to mastering the lively and imaginative world of idioms. As Olivia's journey with idioms continued, she began noticing that language could guide her not only in fun and conversation but also in problem-solving and decision-making. Idioms were not just colorful expressions, they were tools that captured wisdom, strategy, and practical thinking. One Tuesday morning, Olivia arrived at the office to find a challenging email in her inbox. A client had requested a last-minute change to a project that was already underway. Olivia felt a pang of anxiety. What should I do? She thought. Mark noticed her hesitation and said, Olivia, don't jump the gun. Take your time to understand the client's request before responding. Olivia paused. Don't jump the gun. She remembered this meant acting too quickly, without thinking. She took a deep breath and read the email carefully, making sure she understood all the details. Later, during a brainstorming session, her manager suggested, We need to weigh all the options carefully. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Olivia smiled. She had learned this idiom before. It meant not risking everything on a single plan. She started listing alternatives and contingency plans, visualizing each basket, with its own set of possibilities. The idiom guided her thinking, turning a potentially stressful situation into a structured, manageable process. As she worked through the day, Olivia encountered another idiom from a colleague. We may need to call it a day if this issue takes too long. Olivia thought carefully. Call it a day, stop working for now and continue later. She realized that idioms often provided practical advice and perspective, reminding people to pace themselves and avoid unnecessary stress. During lunch, Olivia and Lily discussed a personal challenge, planning a surprise event for a friend while balancing work and other commitments. Lily said, Olivia, you really need to think on your feet. Things could change at any moment. Olivia repeated it silently. Think on your feet. Make quick decisions in response to changes. She visualized herself hopping quickly from one spot to another, ready to adapt. She realized that idioms often captured dynamic situations where action and judgment mattered. Later that afternoon, Olivia faced a tricky situation with a colleague. A misunderstanding about project responsibilities had caused tension. She remembered another idiom, clear the air. She decided to talk openly with her colleague and resolve the misunderstanding. By the end of the conversation, both were smiling. Olivia noted in her notebook, clear the air, resolve tension or misunderstandings. She realized that idioms often carried practical wisdom for navigating social and professional challenges. The next day, Olivia faced another decision, choosing between two workshop sessions that conflicted in timing. She asked herself, which one should I pick? Mark suggested. Go with your gut. Olivia repeated it. Go with your gut, trust your instincts. She realized that idioms could also guide intuition and personal judgment. They weren't just about literal meaning, they encapsulated experience, emotion, and cultural knowledge. Throughout the week, Olivia encountered more idioms in problem-solving and decision-making contexts. Bite the bullet. Face a difficult task courageously. Up in the air, uncertain or undecided situations. Cut corners, take shortcuts, sometimes at a risk. Back to the drawing board, start over after a failed attempt. Each idiom helped Olivia think creatively, act wisely, and communicate effectively. She realized that idioms weren't only about flair or style, they were deeply practical, helping people describe situations, convey strategy, and manage challenges. That evening, Olivia wrote in her notebook, "Idioms guide decisions, problem-solving, and strategy. They offer wisdom in a few words, teaching us to act wisely, stay calm, and navigate life's challenges." Olivia felt a sense of growth. She was no longer just memorizing phrases. She was applying idioms in real situations, seeing their value, and letting them influence her thinking. As she prepared for the weekend, Olivia reflected on her journey so far. From work and travel to friendship, fun, and problem-solving, idioms had become her companions. They were tools for expression, learning, and living life more vividly and effectively. She closed her notebook with a smile, ready for the next adventure. Tomorrow promised new challenges, new experiences, and of course, more idioms waiting to be discovered. Olivia felt confident, curious, and inspired. The world of idioms was no longer mysterious. It was practical, expressive, and full of possibilities. Olivia was ready to explore it further, one phrase, one situation, and one story at a time. Olivia's journey with idioms took a magical turn the following week. She discovered that some of the best ways to learn and remember idioms were through stories, books, movies, and even her own imagination. Idioms weren't just words in dictionaries. They were windows into culture, humor, and the creative world. One rainy afternoon, Olivia curled up in her favorite armchair with a classic novel she had borrowed from the library. As she read, she noticed phrases that weren't literal but colorful and expressive. "Bite the dust," she read, and immediately pictured a cowboy falling dramatically in a western scene. She chuckled at the mental image. The idiom meant to fail or die, but the story made it vivid and memorable. Olivia decided to create a special idiom notebook dedicated to stories and imagination. She jotted down the idioms she noticed in the book, along with sketches and short explanations. She realized that connecting idioms to stories made them easier to remember and use. Later, she watched a classic movie with Lily. A character dramatically said, "Don't count your chickens before they hatch." Olivia paused. "Don't count your chickens before they hatch." She understood it meant not to assume success before it happens. The scene showed a character planning a celebration for something uncertain, and the visual reinforced the idiom. Olivia added it to her notebook, imagining tiny chicks still hidden in their shells. Inspired, Olivia began writing short creative stories herself. In one story, a young girl faced a tricky situation at school. She let the cat out of the bag by accidentally revealing a surprise, then hit the nail on the head by finding the perfect solution to fix it. Olivia illustrated each idiom with playful sketches: a mischievous cat, a hammer hitting a nail, making the learning process both fun and effective. At school, Olivia noticed more idioms and literature lessons. Under the Weather appeared in a story about a character feeling sick, and The Ball is in Your Court described a moment when a character had to make an important decision. Olivia realized that idioms were like hidden treasures in texts. They added color, emotion, and depth to storytelling. One afternoon, Olivia and Lily visited a local theater to watch a play. The actors' dialogue was filled with idioms, some familiar, some new. Pulling strings showed a character secretly influencing events, while Back to Square One highlighted a character restarting a failed plan. Olivia jotted down the new idioms and imagined herself in each scene, acting out the phrases mentally. By now, Olivia had developed a habit. She would read, watch, and listen for idioms, then create visual or narrative associations. She found that idioms were easier to remember when tied to emotion, humor, or story. A single phrase could paint a scene in her mind, making it unforgettable. During a creative writing club meeting at school, Olivia shared her notebook with friends. She told a story about a character who hit the roof when discovering a surprise, then played it by ear when solving a tricky problem. Her friends laughed and asked her to explain each idiom. Olivia realized that teaching others was another powerful way to reinforce learning. Explaining idioms, acting them out, and making them part of shared stories strengthened her understanding. Olivia also noticed that idioms often reflected culture and human behavior. Expressions like "let sleeping dogs lie" or "kick the bucket" weren't just language. They captured humor, caution, and shared understanding. Stories and imagination allowed her to experience idioms fully, understanding not just the meaning, but the context, emotion, and imagery. Before bed, Olivia reflected on the week. She added a note to her notebook. Idioms and stories and imagination bring language to life. Visualizing, acting out, and connecting phrases to characters and plots makes them memorable, expressive, and fun. Olivia realized that idioms had become her creative companions. Through books, movies, plays, and her own stories, she could explore human experiences, emotions, and humor. Each idiom was like a tiny story waiting to be told. She felt a growing sense of confidence and joy. Using idioms and storytelling not only improved her English but also enriched her creativity, making her conversations more vivid, expressive, and engaging. As she closed her notebook and turned off the light, Olivia thought about the final step of her journey, sharing what she had learned and reflecting on the incredible adventure that idioms had taken her on. Tomorrow would be the day for the final reflections, connections, and the ultimate conclusion of her idiom journey. Olivia drifted off to sleep with a smile, ready for the last part of her adventure, a conclusion that would tie together all she had learned about idioms in work, travel, social life, challenges, and imagination. Olivia sat by her window, reflecting on her journey with idioms. Over the past weeks, she had explored expressions in work, travel, friendship, problem-solving, and stories. Each experience had taught her not just the meanings of idioms, but also how to use them naturally, vividly, and confidently. She remembered her first day, when idioms seemed mysterious and puzzling. Words like face the music or spill the beans had felt like riddles, impossible to grasp. But gradually, through observation, imagination, and practice, those same phrases had become lively companions in her daily life. Olivia's notebook was filled with sketches, notes, and stories. She smiled as she flipped through the pages. Each idiom represented a memory, a lesson, or a moment of laughter. She realized that learning idioms was not about memorization alone. It was about experiencing them, connecting them to real-life situations, and embedding them into her thinking. Work had taught her idioms that guided problem-solving. Don't jump the gun reminded her to pause and think, while bite the bullet encouraged courage in difficult tasks. Idioms in friendship added humor and warmth. Spill the beans, break the ice, and hit the nail on the head had strengthened conversations and created shared moments of joy. Travel and adventure had opened a new world of idioms. Walking through markets, hiking trails, and city streets, Olivia encountered phrases that described experiences in vivid, memorable ways, in the same boat, shop till you drop, and cherry on top. These expressions had transformed ordinary experiences into stories she could remember and share. Stories, imagination, and creative expression had been the final piece of the puzzle. Books, movies, plays, and her own writing had allowed her to see idioms in context, making them unforgettable. Over the moon, don't count your chickens before they hatch, and let the cat out of the bag became more than words. They became living images in her mind. Olivia realized that idioms were not just linguistic tools, they were reflections of culture, humor, and human experience. They conveyed emotions, painted vivid pictures, and connected people through shared understanding. Each idiom captured a tiny story, a lesson, or a clever observation about life. She also understood the importance of practice and application. Noticing idioms in conversation, using them in her writing, explaining them to friends, and connecting them to her own experiences had made learning natural and enjoyable. She smiled, knowing that anyone could learn idioms effectively by following the same approach: observe, imagine, practice, and apply. Before closing her notebook, Olivia wrote a final note. Idioms bring English to life. They are not just phrases, they are windows into culture, emotion, and creativity. Use them in daily life, connect them to experiences, and watch your language flourish. Olivia reflected on how far she had come. From confusion and curiosity to mastery and confidence, her journey had been filled with laughter, challenges, discovery, and growth. She felt proud not only of the idioms she had learned but also of the skills she had developed: observation, imagination, creativity, and expression. She looked out the window at the evening sky, feeling a sense of completion and excitement for the future. Idioms were no longer intimidating. They were part of her speech, her thinking, and her storytelling. She knew that as long as she stayed curious and practiced regularly, her English would continue to grow in color, richness, and expressiveness. Finally, Olivia whispered to herself, "The world of idioms is endless, and now I'm ready to explore it fully, one phrase at a time." With that thought, she closed her notebook, feeling satisfied, inspired, and confident. She knew that idioms would continue to enrich her life, making language playful, expressive, and alive, not just for learning, but for living, sharing, and enjoying every moment of communication. And so, Olivia's journey with idioms came full circle. What had started as curiosity and a desire to learn had grown into mastery, creativity, and joy. She had discovered that idioms were more than words. They were keys to understanding, connecting, and experiencing the world in vibrant, unforgettable ways. Her adventure had ended, but the lessons, the expressions, and the memories would stay with her forever, ready to inspire every conversation, story, and experience to come.